Okay, I'm going to give you an example of what the guest list, sample guest list and addresses if you purchase that. And what I will do is I'll share it with you, share a copy of it, and then you can make it your own. So the sample one, let me show you what you would do here. You would do the wedding of, I'm just going to give you an example of Susie and Alex, and of course I would change at least this part for you when I share it with you. So then what we did on ours is we put S or A for Susie, Alex, as far as what sides they are, for example. And then first name, last name, party leader's name, so that if they're one to set with a table, then you know you sent one invitation to the one party, and what party they were with. So Joe Hype is all together with Joe and Joyce Hype in that party so that you know who goes together. Then we had spot for address for our guest, city, state, and zip. I have a column for money that was received at the bottom of this too. We had quite a few guests, so you can delete rows if you want to. I had how many guests or how much money, keeping a running total. So as you add guest and money in there, it'll keep a running total for you, so after the wedding you can go back and then you know about where you're at and like what your wedding gifts were, so that you can go back after the wedding and see what they got, and when you write thank you cards you know what you had. RSVPs, when they went out, how many have RSVP'd, and then what we did also is we had chicken, fish, vegetarian, beef choices on the invites, so entered those ones there, which again, these have totals down at the bottom of your spreadsheet, and so those are there. We had also a different column for kids' meals rehearsal. Some people you won't have at the rehearsal dinner, so we put counts if they were invited to the rehearsal and how many, so that we are aware of how many were going to the rehearsal dinner. We sent out save the date, so if we sent out the save the date, then we went ahead and clicked on those with our guest. Ours was a destination wedding, so we had different hotels, so we put in here where our guests were staying so that we knew where they were staying, and maybe did a few guest bags, so when they arrived at the hotel they had some guest bags. And thank you sent, just a checkbox whether or not the thank you was sent also. So this of course can be modified to fit your needs. If you download it, I'll have more of an instructional video about how to modify it so that it fits your needs, and instructions on how to do that. I can show you how to get rid of some columns, add some columns that you want. One thing that we did to easily see things is, if we wanted to highlight in a different color, okay, we sent these invites out so it's easy to see who we sent invites out to and who we didn't. Then we highlighted them in a different color. Down here at the bottom, way at the bottom, again, I can get rid of some of these rows for you if you tell me how many you need approximately, and then you can get rid of those. This did a count of how many of guests were on one side and the other side, so we can kind of keep an idea of that. This also kept a total count of, like I said, the money situation, the gifts, the RSVPs. It'll keep track of how many have RSVP'd and your totals for you with a formula in there. This down here I can get rid of when I share one with you, but we did this again, like I highlighted different colors, so maybe I wanted, if I sent out an invite, then I would go to that person and highlight and say, yep, I sent them an invite out. And then when I was done sending all the invites out, then I removed the coloring. So you can do those too. It just makes it easier to see. And again, you can share this with people that are helping you with the party. It was helpful for us to share amongst the families so that everybody knew if I was looking for an address, then they could get in there and plug it in. or add guests. You can give people the right to just view it or to edit it. There's all kinds of things you can do with this to modify it. And I can make some simple modifications for you. And then there'll be more of an instructional video sent that you can watch once I make a copy of this for you to make it your own. So that's a little bit about our wedding sample guest lists and addresses. And this was really helpful for us, this document or this shared file. It's helpful for you to have a Google email so that you can share it with people easier and they can work on it easier. And then you're working off one file, one shared guest list. What I've used this for after the fact was I did make a copy of it, which would allow you to do, and I can show you how to do that. So that I had the sample guest list and addresses, and then I made a copy of it and once I knew who was coming, and made an attending guest list and addresses so that we were just looking at the people that were attending the wedding, and then I still had the copy of everybody that we invited. I've also used this later for baby shower, modified it of course, and still had my original copies left so that I could start off with addresses and people that we invited to the wedding. It was a couple years later when we had a baby shower for my daughter. So this is just a sample of one of the files that is very useful, and I can teach you how to use it for, it'll be all included for the instructional part of how to use it, and I'll modify a couple of the things for you, such as the names here and the formula here to do the whatever letters you want for family side. And you'll have to enter, of course, your own information for names and addresses. And I can show you how to add and delete columns. And then usually it'll be a same day turnaround where I can at least modify it a little bit for your needs. Any other major customizing would be email me for just a small extra charge depending on what it is. Thanks very much for watching.